Good afternoon everybody, this is Lara from Pure Elliott Wave with your Monday to Friday update for Bitcoin, Ethereum and XRP. A comment was made a couple of days ago that I used a lot of indicators, and my response was I think I actually don't use very many at all. I've seen other people with stock charts a foot long, they get longer the more indicators you add, and I'm using what I consider a small set of indicators that cover the major areas you need to cover for market analysis, and they work really well together. So I'm going to talk through why I've chosen these and what I use them for. There are 5 main areas of market analysis that you need to cover. You've got to look at price, so I've got candlesticks to look at price data. You need to do some volume analysis, so I'm using volume bars and on-balance volume for that. You need to know what the trend state is of the market. There's 2 ways I'm using to tell that. You just look at price, you see a series of higher highs and higher lows. That's a basic definition of an upward trend, and the opposite, lower highs, lower lows, basically a downward trend. In conjunction with that, I'm strongly using ADX. It is designed to tell you, is there a trend, what direction the trend is in, and how extreme it is. So an incredibly useful indicator. And then you need to look at the strength of your market. Now this is important to understand. It's the strength of price now compared to price at other periods of time in your market. It's not looking at the strength of this market in comparison to any other market. It's strength within this single market. For that, I'm using RSI and money flow indicator. I've added money flow more recently because it's got a volume component to its calculation that makes it a little bit more sensitive to identify divergence when sometimes RSI on its own just doesn't do that. And finally, you need to have some measure of volatility. A lot of people use Bollinger Bands, but I prefer to use ATR, average true range, as a really good measure of volatility of your market. So those are the 5 main areas, and that's why I'm choosing these indicators to cover those 5 areas, and they work really well together. I do add in stochastics, but only for a consolidating market. When the market is trending, I don't use stochastics. So let's use those indicators together and go through this chart for Bitcoin. On the price chart, I notice a pattern, a pennant pattern, and I calculated a target for that yesterday with you, 52,388. This is coming after the upward trend reached very extreme, and RSI and money flow have exhibited bearish divergence. So I was expecting a deeper pullback, but the pennant pattern and now a break above the upper edge of the pattern suggests that we may not get that. That support at 41,100 may indeed hold. Prices closed above the upper edge of the pennant, and today the lower edge of today's candlestick is finding support at the resistance line of the pennant. So we may have a breakout and a little bit of a test of support before price moves up and away. I am slightly concerned today that Ethereum's having a great upward day, but Bitcoin just isn't moving very strongly out of this pennant. However, the close above resistance on the session for 20th of December did have push from volume, so we should be able to have some confidence in that upward breakout from the pattern. I'm using volume bars and on-balance volume for my volume analysis. Here's the 20th of December. The upward breakout did have push from volume. Today, so far, 22nd of December, a little bit of an increase in volume from the previous session. The session's not over, so it could increase further. This is good to see for a bullish case, although overall volume is somewhat declining. There's been a bullish signal from on-balance volume with a break above this resistance line. This resistance line is horizontal, not too long held, but it has 3 or 4 tests, so there is some reasonable technical significance. This is my favorite way to use on-balance volume. When it breaks above resistance or below support, it gives us a signal, and sometimes it breaks out prior to price. In this case, the breakout was with price on the 20th of December. So this adds a little bit of confidence in conjunction with stronger volume on the 20th of December that we are going to see an upward breakout from the pennant. So the target is now in play. For analysis of the trend state using ADX, when ADX is declining, that's the black line, it's telling you there's no clear trend. It has to be above 15 and have a positive slope to tell you there's a trend. When it gets above 45 or so, the trend is extreme. Currently no clear trend. The DX lines are telling you what direction the trend is in. It's really nice to see ADX come down from very extreme, which is as above 45 and above both DX lines. It was back here. Really nice to see it coming well back out of extreme territory, setting itself up for the next signal for the next trend. Using RSI and money flow to indicate strength and weakness in the market and to identify divergence to help assist with turning points, RSI reached deeply overbought and exhibited triple bearish divergence between price. Now I'm very careful to only acknowledge divergence when a pivot has developed. Here's a pivot on RSI, another one, and a corresponding pivot on price. So we have to see a pivot develop and then you identify divergence. If you identify divergence prior to a pivot, then quite often it will just disappear. That's a little screening technique to screen out false divergence and false signals. I add in money flow because sometimes RSI doesn't exhibit divergence, but money flow will. It can be a little bit more sensitive because there's a volume component to its calculation. It's also a measure of strength of the market, and it too exhibited triple divergence at the last high for Bitcoin. So, unsurprising, we got a consolidation. I was expecting a deeper pullback because ADX was very extreme. RSI, money flow both reached overbought and both exhibited triple divergence, suggesting a deeper pullback, but so far we just haven't got it, and the pennant and the upward breakout suggests we may not get it. And finally, ATR, or average true range, as a measure of volatility, shows it's been increasing, which means volatility is returning to the market. This is extremely bullish for Bitcoin. It's really important to go back and look at how ATR behaves with your market. For example, the S&P 500, ATR will generally decline in a bullish run and increase strongly in a bearish movement. Bitcoin's the opposite, and commodities are generally the opposite as well, although they can be in both directions. Bitcoin has a strong association with increasing ATR during bullish runs. It can increase some in parts of bearish runs, but it's always going to increase in a strong bullish run. So it's great to see volatility returning to the market here. And so that's how and why I'm using this small set of indicators together. The Elliott Wave count for Ethereum's looking great today. I'm glad I moved minute 2 up here. It could be over. We could have seen a brief shallow zigzag in the start of minute 3. I want to see just a new high above 2403.29. If we see a new high above that point with strength, then I'll eliminate the possibility of a B wave. I'll just quickly show you what I mean. A's a 3, B's a 3 to move a little bit higher, and then C to move lower. We could have a flat correction unfolding for minute wave 2. For now, I'm just going to leave it like this, and the invalidation points down here to acknowledge that alternate idea I see. 2 may not move beyond the start of 1, below 1521.78. For Ethereum, I identified a flag pattern, not perfect because the trend lines aren't parallel, but they're kind of close. The breakout point about 2260.82 gives us a target from the flag at 2678. Price is very clearly breaking out upward today with some push from volume, so the target is now in play. I expect as price approaches next resistance at 2,400, it might be able to break through pretty quickly this time. If it does, look out potentially for a backtest of support before it moves up and away. A little bit of an increase in volume. It's only 2 o'clock in the afternoon in New York now, so a few hours yet to go. Volume is stronger than the previous session, so that's an increase in volume for this session. There was a bullish signal a couple of days ago from on-balance volume giving us an advance warning of an upward breakout, and that's exactly what's happening today. This system works really well. I've shown to you a few times now on these charts in recent weeks or months exactly how this works. ADX tells us there's no clear trend for Ethereum. And so the model of stochastics plus support and resistance would say stochastics may continue lower to oversold while price continues lower to support. But stochastics is now having a positive slope and the short term's crossed above the longer term. So this is looking bullish for the short term in conjunction with a bullish signal from on-balance volume and an upward breakout from the flag pattern. I would expect stochastics to continue now to overbought and price to continue up to resistance. And when they get there simultaneously, depending on what ADX tells us about the trend, the upward swing may end there, or if there's an upward trend, I'll just expect it to keep on going. The Elliott Wave count for XRP is going to have to change slightly today because this ending contracting diagonal is now invalid because 4 is longer than 2, does not meet the rules for wavelengths regarding a diagonal. So I'd consider maybe labeling minor 2 over here. I'm having a bit of a hard time now figuring out how minor 2 is unfolding. Okay, so this fits and it meets the rules, but it doesn't meet the spirit or the intention and normal look of a multiple zigzag. The second or third, if there is one, subsequent zigzags and a multiple zigzag, their purpose is to deepen the correction when the first zigzag doesn't move price deep enough, and so to achieve that purpose, Y should move reasonably beyond the end of W, and X and multiple zigzags are usually relatively brief and shallow and almost always zigzags themselves. This does not look like a normal double zigzag, so I'm a bit suspicious of this. That's the best way I can see to label it though, so I'd consider maybe it could be over, and we could be in the early stages of a third wave up for XRP. I've identified this potential descending triangle yesterday for XRP. The breakout from a descending triangle, I think 64% of the time, is downward. Upward breakouts are more have a better result though when they're seen. This analysis expects most likely we're going to see an upward breakout, and if there's an upward breakout soon, then the target would be 85 cents. A downward breakout would see a target of 45 cents, but I don't think price is going to get that low because there's really strong support about 55 cents. It may not even get that low. 58 cents has been holding for quite a while though. It's tested multiple times. Every time support or resistance are tested, it's strengthened, so this support at 58 cents is now pretty strong. The bottom line for XRP is it's still consolidating. Support at 58 cents, resistance about 0.675. We need to see a breakout of this zone to have confidence that the next trend is underway. We're seeing stronger volume recently on upward sessions, so I'd suggest maybe an upward breakout might be more likely, but overall as price moves sideways, overall volume is declining. There is a weak bullish signal now for XRP from on-balance volume. This signal is really weak though. This resistance line that's been broken yesterday is short held and only has 2 anchor points. That's the minimum you need to draw a line. So pretty low technical significance there, but we'll take it. It's a weak bullish signal. ADX is now declining. Awesome, so great to see it dipping below 15. This is so good. It's going to set itself up for a really strong signal. With no clear trend, reverting to a model of stochastics plus support and resistance, I would say stochastics may not properly reach oversold. The short is above the longer term indicator line for stochastics. They're both positively sloped, moving up into neutral territory. I think the downward swing is probably over, and an upward swing for XRP may now be in its early stages. That's it from me today with a quick update for you. I hope everyone's having a lovely day.